This video segment is about babies' behavior. So the first thing we're going to talk about is spitting up. Babies may spit up a small amount of milk when they're being burped or just after they're fed, and that's completely normal. Just try not to overhandle your baby after feeding. Frequent burping and smaller feedings may help with that. Vomiting or regurgitation is different than spitting up, so it may or may not be forceful. Contact your doctor if the baby's vomiting, especially if it contains blood or is green in color. So that is different than spitting up, but little bits after feeding are completely normal. In terms of elimination, the number of wet diapers a baby has should correlate to their day of life. So if the baby's 4 days old, they should have 4 wet diapers. If the baby's 6 days old, they should have 6 wet diapers. And after 6 days, all babies should have 6 to 8 wet diapers in a 24-hour period. In terms of bowel movements, your baby should have at least 1 to 2 every 24 hours for the first 2 days, and then 2 to 3 every 24 hours after that. It does differ with breastfed babies versus formula-fed babies. Breastfed babies can actually have 1 bowel movement every 1 to 7 days after 6 weeks of age. So as long as they're not vomiting, their tummy is soft, they seem completely comfortable after feeding, then you don't have to worry as long as it's not past a 7-day period. Formula-fed babies may have a little more formed bowel movements, and these may occur after each feed or once every 3 to 5 days. So always, if you're concerned, contact your doctor, but don't get too caught up on the number each day. You want to look after 6 weeks of age at kind of what the trend has been over the week and any other signs that you may be concerned about. Crying and colic. So crying, of course, is a baby's way of telling you that something is either wrong or needs to be done. So they might be hungry, they have a wet diaper, they're tired, they're too cold, they're too hot, they may be sick, or sometimes they even cry when they're overstimulated. So newborns spend an average of about 2 to 4 hours crying during a 24-hour period, and you will never spoil your baby by responding to that cry because it is a signal for care. So you should always check to see first if there's a physical reason for the crying, and some suggestions include burping your baby. Sometimes even if they've burped once and you've put them back down, if they start crying right away, it may mean either that they have another burp, they're a bit gassy, or if they're showing cues for feeding that they may still be hungry. And babies do go through growth spurts, so it could be during that time if they've kind of gone off their schedule a little bit. They may need to just have their position changed, they may just need a cuddle, they may need their diapers changed, and some feel much more secure when they're swaddled safely. So that's, you'll get to know your baby and you'll get to know what they like and what's normal for them, but all of these things may help them to settle. If your baby will not come down, it is also normal to feel sometimes frustrated or angry, and at this time it's important to find somebody that can allow you to have a break. And if you don't have anyone around and you are at the point where you're feeling very frustrated, it is safer to put the baby in the crib, because the baby will be safe even if he or she is crying if you step away for a few minutes or 10 minutes to have a shower. That's more important than it's more important for you to take that break. Remember, of course, it's never to shake your baby. It may seem obvious, but if you are alone and feeling overwhelmed, it is important that we give you this information, because it is the #1 reason for trauma to babies in southwestern Ontario. So it is extremely important that all hospitals provide education on shaken baby syndrome. So babies do have underdeveloped neck muscles and are unable to support their proportionately large head. And they also have very fragile blood vessels. So because of this, any amount of shaking can cause severe damage to the brain. Colic is different than just crying baby. So colic refers to episodes of a baby crying who cannot be consoled or pacified. It begins around 2 to 3 weeks of age after birth, or in a prem baby would usually be 2 to 3 weeks corrected age after birth. So, if they're born at 32 weeks, not necessarily would it happen around 35, it would probably be more 3 weeks after they would have been due. And it usually disappears around 3 to 4 months of age. And no one really knows what causes it. So really the education we provide is how to help you and how to help the baby. So to help the baby, you can maintain a regular routine. Try to avoid overhandling the baby when the baby is fussy, because that too can cause overstimulation. Try steady, smooth motions, such as rocking or a car ride, and also to reduce light and noise. And it's also important to allow yourself short breaks. Bathing. So while your baby's been admitted in the NICU, you've most likely seen a demonstration or taken part in a demo bath, or depending on your length of stay, you may have done several baths independently. So in terms of the specifics on how to bathe the baby, you probably already know, or you can always ask your nurse. But basically, bathing can be done 3 to 7 times a week. You may want to avoid bathing the baby when he or she is very hungry, or just after feeding, because this will more likely lead them to spit up. And if they're super hungry, they will just probably be frantic the whole time, and it won't be a very relaxing experience for them. Always check the temperature of the water prior to immersing the baby. Of course, never leave the baby alone in the bath or on a table when you're preparing everything. Don't add warm or hot water to the bath while the baby is in it, because you just can't guarantee what kind of temperature change that will cause. And after bathing, always make sure to rinse and dry the baby thoroughly, making sure that you get in all the skin folds and the creases, etc. In terms of cord care, while the cord is attached, you just want to keep it as dry as possible, but bathing is allowed. So after the bath, you just can take a clean, dry cloth and dry around the base. No special cleaning otherwise is required. And after putting a diaper on the baby, you just want to fold down the diaper so that the cord is exposed. And the cord is dead tissue and can have a distinct smell that may be not pleasant. But if the odor is offensive and foul smelling, and the cord looks red, the base of the cord looks red, or it's hot, then that may be a sign of infection, and that's when you would want to get that checked out. But otherwise, if you just keep it as dry as possible, it usually falls off within 10 to 12 days, sometimes earlier, depending on if it catches on the sleeper or how long it is or short it is. And that concludes that segment on baby's behavior.